I also think about how the other stuff that we do in our life contribute to creativity. So for me, for example, right, one of the ways I stay disciplined with everything I do, with the podcast, with poetry, is because I kind of look at it from the same lens I look at my jiu-jitsu training. It's like I go training and it's like I do it regularly because I know that if I stop doing it, I'm gonna feel not great about myself, but also like when I go back, I'm gonna not be as good. And so like I look at it this way, and I want to hear what you think about this, right? That I look at creativity almost as the same way that I look at training, because it's almost like the more I do it, and this is obvious, the more I do it, the better I get at it.
Yeah.
But the more I do it, the more I want to do it. Because if I have a way where I'm like, oh, actually, it's like performing. Like I stopped performing for like 2 months because I was doing whatever, you know, and it's like I want to perform. But that feeling of wanting to perform, when I'm there, it's more... there's more anxiety with it because I haven't performed for 2 months. But if I was doing it last week, there is no time for me to think, you know. Of course I'm going to be nervous, but it's like that nerves is kind of like is put down because I know that it's just now I'm nervous. When I'm on stage, I'll be okay. Reminding myself of that is harder the longer I leave it. So like I kind of use that, you know, that mental process.
You preempt that. Yeah. Okay.
I preempt it by just saying, oh, like it's like going to jiu-jitsu. It's like it's fine. You're just going training. It's like that's for me. I kind of phrase it in that perspective.
Okay. So when you're going to like perform, you're like, oh, this is just another rep. Like
exactly, it's reps for me because if I obviously when I'm up there and performing something vulnerable, it's different from a rep. But it's to me, it's like that.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you see?
I get that. Yeah. I think I've at points. It's like. With all this, how you see things, like the way that you frame things for yourself, it's like you have to find whatever frame or way of thinking about it works for you to actually enable the outcome that you want. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'll tell myself, oh, like what you have to do is kind of surrender and listen and pay attention to life, and then that'll tell you what to do, because that's kind of what I need in that moment. But then sometimes I'm like, no, I have to create. Like I have to actively create, and you're like flipping how you think, and in the same way that
absolutely,
it's like you have to find, because your thinking is like, well, if it feels like a rep, then it kind of takes the pressure off as well. It's like, this is just a, you know, maybe
the thing I'm doing. 100%. And I think it also kind of, it happens most when I'm in a creative block, you know, like whenever I feel like creatively, I'm not like, I don't know what to write. Like I want to write, but there's nothing coming up. And so it's like, if I kind of put myself in a position where I have to do it, for example, every week I have to put out a little poem that I put on my story. And because it's just a poem from my story, it's not that deep in my mind, but it's coming from a place of truth and actual, like, this is something I feel. So it kind of gets over that creative block. And I wanted to talk about this also, like how people get through creative blocks, because in every journey you're gonna have moments where you're gonna be just creating, just everything will just feel like so easy, but then you will get to a point where, whether it's in stand-up or whether it's in poetry, just even anything, writing, you reach a point where you kind of feel like you've said it all, and you don't, like, you're not, maybe your life currently is not allowing you to come with an idea that's new. And I've definitely felt this in my life too, where I'll be doing things and I'll be like, you know what, it's easier to do the podcast than it is to go write a poem, because it just feels like right now writing a poem is too much, because I don't know what I would say, you know. But to get through that, for me especially, is always about kind of what you mentioned too, kind of seeing the beauty in the world, kind of like letting myself go from all the obligations and kind of going for a walk in the park, kind of resetting my nervous system and being like, you know what, just bring everything down. What was a simple thing you can notice and just talk about? And then that kind of like spirals into something that I want to write about. But it's also kind of like, I think sometimes in our heads we get too caught up in our heads about fear and resistance, you know. There's that element of resistance that comes with it too, that I'm going to share this, and so if I'm going to share this, I want to say something that people will see and be like, oh, this is good, or people will be able to receive, you know. And I'm thinking about the audience receiving the art rather than me producing the art, so I have to kind of get past that, block out the audience out of my mind, so I can create something that's true to me, or is actual self-expression, so that I'm not caught up in what they're trying to, you know. And then that kind of helps me too. What are some of the ways do you think people can get past creative blocks? Have you experienced some yourself?
I think it goes back to, you know, when you're experiencing creative blocks, you're probably trying too hard to get something done, and what you have to do is play more, and going back to like make you know, your life is your art. You know, go do fun shit.
Go do fun shit. Go outside.
Yeah, exactly. Like probably this whole thought process is happening, and you're like sitting in your like, or I'm not saying you, like it happens to me a lot, where it's like you're thinking about, you're just thinking. You're like sitting in your bed, you're sitting wherever, you're just thinking, and it's really important to also like break things into small things, and like start small. Like start, you know, in the morning. You know, it's like if all you feel like you can do today is like go and, I don't know, you know,
go for a walk in the park or something like that.
Like literally just go for a walk.
Yeah,
that's
then do that and then see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Like you have to. You're not going to solve this, whatever problem you have, from the level of consciousness that you're at. Right? So
no, that's perfect. It makes perfect sense.
When I used to do sales, one of the things that I would do is basically stalk people on LinkedIn, because you have to like, then you were going to call them or you're going to email them, so you had to like look through their
the post,
their life, and see something that might be relevant, so that they open the email or whatever. And I remember one guy on his LinkedIn had in his, and it really stuck with me, in his like bio, it was like a quote from Einstein that said, you know, problems can't be solved from the same level of consciousness as when they are created, as from which they're created. So it's like, to solve a problem, it's like you have to change, you have to elevate your state of consciousness, and you know, going for a walk in a park, you know, meditating, whatever, you know, whatever gets you there. But that's
beautiful. That's so true too, and that's so beautiful. I think also one thing I wanted to talk about also was finding that creative voice, whatever that means for individuals. What some of the ways that people can find their creative voice. And what I mean by that essentially is that obviously when we start anything creative, whether it's poetry, we're drawn by inspirations. So you read someone, you get inspired by them, you think, oh, this is good, I like this. You know, I do the same thing. You spoke about it too. Just like take that line here, oh, this is good.
Yep.
But we get caught up in that. And when we want to do our own thing, it's hard to find our own voice through that. I think stealing like a great artist is one of the ways we do it.
Yeah.
But what are some of the other ways that people can find their voice?
Just do it. Like, but you're probably not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, right?
whatever it is, you're probably not doing it. It's like you're thinking about how to find your voice.
But yes, exactly. Yeah, 100% true.
It's like, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Because I'm thinking back to, the reason I'm laughing, because I'm thinking back to when I was in that state. Or trying to find my creative voice.
Yeah, it's like, what's my voice?
What's my voice? What's unique about me? It's like, you just do the thing. And then the thing will manifest itself.
Yeah, and you'll, because you can't know beforehand.
Yeah.
You just can't.
You just can't know. Yeah, you have to just do
it. It's like, you're not going
to, Yeah. And finally, okay, I wanted to talk about the kind of like the negative aspects of creativity. Like obviously like the rejection and like for example, if you've ever, I don't know if you've ever had this, but you say like the poetry crowd is very nice, but sometimes I've performed stuff and they do get a good reaction, but sometimes perform stuff and it's like not the reaction you want. You probably had this stand-up more likely, like you mentioned before, but how do people deal with rejection when it comes to creativity? Or maybe you share your work with someone and they're like, oh, that's okay. You're like, man, that was more than okay. I thought you were going to be so happy to see this, but I think in any journey you're going to find people who like your work and people who just don't care for it. How do people get view that kind of rejection in the right way so then they can keep going? Because one thing about creativity, you can't give up, but most people give up at the first hurdle.
I don't think I've, like I said, I'm very early in my like creative journey. I don't think I've had that happen to me enough where I can really give that much advice about it. What I think is true is like, you know, just like a lot of it comes down to just being kind to yourself. And it's like if you had a shit, you know, whatever, just like whatever makes you feel nice after, like, you know, go hang out with your friends, go for a walk, watch a movie, maybe take a, you know, don't immediately like force yourself. Like if I had like I remember when I did the stand-up thing, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do another stand-up next week because I feel like I have to like recover from that a little bit. Like it would have just been painful to like really force myself to do it again.
Yeah,
you know, like that's not fun either.
Yeah.
Just be kind to yourself, and I think the really important thing is, I guess, when you're, and again, I haven't dealt with this, so it's easy for me to say it, but I haven't like really been faced with the challenge of it, where it's like people criticize you or people just don't like your stuff. It's like you get a lot more, like what you're getting out of it is not the fact that people are liking it or not. Like you're having fun. But again, I haven't experienced this, so I'm just saying, like, this is what I would tell myself.
No, but it's true.
Will tell myself when it happens.
I think it's true. I think it's just remembering why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it for fun.
Yeah, you're doing it for fun. And I think you have to you can't care what people think, because that's not the guide. Like if you're not, that's not the voice, like whatever it is that's telling you what to do or what to pursue or what's funny or whatever. That's not, it's not other people.
That's crazy.
Okay.
We just had like a fire alarm announcement. That's crazy.
Let's see.
Let's see if this goes crazy noises and it cuts out. But we'll continue.
Seems all right.
We will continue. Okay, and fine. Do you think about success when you have these ideas about creativity? Do you think about the day where you're on stage with thousands of people and performing great poetry and stand up and doing everything that your heart's content? How do you view success and creativity?